If you are tuning in, you are on the Denko Gridiron Show. Grayson, Nolette, John Piper, live every Wednesday during the high school football season here in Texas. Grayson, we do get people that tune in from outside of the great state of Texas. We've had some from, I think, North Dakota, South Dakota.
We've got people listening as far out as Maui, Hawaii, where I have some friends, and even my high school coach out there listens to me listens to us on YouTube actually every Wednesday. And I just figured this out like last week. I don't know who mentioned it to me. They're like, hey, he listens to you. I'm like, no way. Like, shout out to Coach
we're
Alika.
on YouTube today, Facebook Live on the Denko Gridiron, just all across social media. Just type in Denko Gridiron, like Denton County, DENCO Gridiron.
9 area teams,
and
every week.
We'll even start the podcast recording here in a minute. We do that about a minute before noon. And once again, for the 10th week in a row, we're on time, actually starting the show about 4 minutes early as people can come in. We got some viewers in here already. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We always like to hear from you. Man, it is football weather out there today, Grayson.
Oh,
nasty out there.
A little drizzly. But this is actually also our Halloween episode. Technically, John.
Yeah.
We got the decorations going over here.
We actually dressed up as broadcasters.
Oh, yeah? Who'd you go as today?
A broadcaster.
Oh.
Hey, Kelly McClary, we sent you a note on Messenger. You are the winner of that tailgate package. So, unfortunately, we just saw the note this morning, but we can get that in the mail to you. Or if you are near Denton, Texas, you can swing by. Margie Campbell, thank you for tuning in, Margie. And Margie has been like a day one fan. Margie, type in the notes. I think you started tuning in season 1. I'm pretty sure. I remember you piping in.
From what I've seen,
there,
Margie's
Piper,
Margie's been pretty committed over on Twitter for us.
Yeah.
Not honestly, we don't get as many people on Twitter as we do on Facebook. But you know what? I guess
I think Twitter's more the replay. It goes out like Periscope, Twitter. I think people see that. It kind of lives out there in the sports world, and I think it's pretty good.
I don't because everybody's an expert, but I don't want to say I'm a social media expert, but I have been involved with it for several years and just the logistics of promotion and marketing on there. And Facebook Live has just slowly become more and more popular.
Yeah, that's where we started the show. And our friends at Six Stitch, they've supplied some of the apparel for the show. Our friends, we like to shop local, promote local. And Six Stitch is Argyle-based, and they can handle all your promotional needs. So, little shout out to our friends at Six Stitch there, Grayson. I still need to get you an embroidered Hawaiian shirt. You kind of switched gears today. A little cool outside
with the plaid today because I thought it was a little bit more fall Halloween-y, I guess you could say, instead of the Hawaiian shirt. I thought it would have thrown off our setting here. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of get in the fall spirit, rock some plaid.
Now,
plus, like you said, it's football weather out there today, so it's also long sleeve.
Are you related to Elaine Rios?
That's my fiance.
Oh, got a little shout out there. It says, y'all looking great. She said, y'all, not just Grayson, so I appreciate that. And love the decorations.
Yeah, she probably, I might have stolen a couple of things from our house. We really enjoy decorating our home during the holidays. We'll switch from fall to Halloween, then into Thanksgiving, and all the way into Christmas. Elaine, especially my fiance, loves it, and she's kind of just dragged me into it, and now I love it too. So there's nothing I can say about it. It's great.
Well, it is time to set everything at the top of the hour. It's rolling into the noon hour here at Central Time in Denton, Texas. You are tuned in to the Denko Gridiron Show, whether it's on podcast, wherever you get your podcast, you can check us out there on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope. We're actually on Instagram over there as well, and YouTube. Grayson, Nolette, John Piper. Man, 10th episode. That's hard to believe. 10th episode of the season, Grayson. Is that right?
I think it's also great that our Halloween episode just happens to fall on the 10th episode. It's just like a kind of double whammy of awesome over here right now. And, like you said, it only makes even more sense that it's true football weather today. It's a cold, drizzly day in Denton, Texas over here on the square. But we still have a great show. And honestly, we have a little bit of bonus content today that I hope our fans are looking forward to as well. We'll just call it beyond the field content that we hope everybody really gets down with.
Yeah. We'll have a special guest join us about the 12:30 mark on the show. Catherine Flores, we're part of the Beyond the Game. So actually, that's a good time now. If you'll share this stream, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are, share it out and use hashtag Beyond the Game. We're going to be doing some promotion of the some community involvement, some things you can do locally to help feed those in need here in Denton County. Hashtag Beyond the Game. Share the stream out and you'll get entered. We'll announce next week, whoever does that, a $25 gift card to our friends at Marty B's.
And it's just, it means a lot to the organization that we're going to be discussing and the movement we're going to be discussing. And, that's the great thing about high school football is that it's a community-based thing. And that's where, people can really make a change beyond the field and beyond the game. But nonetheless, we still have another, I guess, I don't want to say typical show, but some people may know the drill around there. Right now, we're covering 9 area teams in the North Texas area. And we've done, I feel like, a really great job of giving everybody their equal share every week and keeping everybody updated on their favorite teams. I hope you guys think so too. And we'll also have our Gridiron Players of the Week as well at the end of the show, as always.
Yeah, just put that out in the comments. So that'll be awesome. And man, it's football weather out there. I know we're both. I've got kind of a sweater on. You've got the flannel on. I think it's like 43 degrees out and drizzling rain.
I love
still
this
like that when you
weather.
rolled in.
I love this
I've kind of been locked in here in this capsule, the studio, all morning, so I haven't been outside.
Just make sure you're careful out there. There was a accident on I-35. It wasn't serious. I think somebody just went off into the rails or something like that. Minor accident, but still be careful out there. Make sure you're driving safe during days like this. But still, I hope you guys enjoy this drizzly weather as much as I do.
Hey, at the top of the hour, we do we try to limit our advertisers and sponsorship, but I do want to talk just briefly about Bud Bartley Homes. They've signed on to help support the things we do here in the community. And Bud Bartley Homes been building homes in North Texas for over 30 years. And Grayson, they actually built my home about 16 years ago. You can check them out at budbartleyhomes.com. Currently building in 3 communities. They've got some unique home sites overlooking Lake Grapevine, as well as Copper Canyon. I think some 2-acre home sites, and then building in Highland Village. But check them out. Their office is right down there in Flower Mound, budbartleyhomes.com. And Grayson, if you want to talk a little bit about our friends at Marty B's.
Yeah, and make sure you guys check out Marty B's over there in Bartonville, Texas. They've been just a community staple since 2017, bringing a lot of fantastic food to the table. And one thing I feel like I haven't talked about a lot throughout our season 4 here so far, John, is the fact that they're one of few venues that are bringing back live music right now to the scene. I know that during these times it's been difficult to find concerts and find areas where people are doing live music, but Marty B's has a socially distanced and really very open space, so it's very much accessible for them to bring some live musicians to the table. And I think that that's just a really key factor for them. Plus great food, great atmosphere, totally a place where you can have a date or bring your family. Check out Marty B's at martybsplace.com.
Matter of fact, you and you'll be calling the Louisville Fighting Farmer game, voice of the Fighting Farmers, and I'll be on myself and Rick Throkill will be on the call for Geyer versus Prosper over there in Prosper at the beautiful Children's Health Hospital Stadium. But I think my wife is going to go to Marty B's Friday night, and have a little dinner and hang out there at Marty B's.
Yeah, and later on in November, my fiance and I are going to have our engagement party there, and hopefully I'm going to be able to take a bunch of pictures for you guys and show you how awesome of an environment it can be to have your own personal event there.
Well, fans, I think they're ready to talk a little Texas high school football, Grayson.
I think they are. Let's go ahead and get right into it with the matchup of the week for our show, essentially. And it was the Mound Showdown between Flower Mound and Flower Mound Marcus. I know that our fans definitely got pretty emotional about this matchup last week when I came out and I was giving the Marauders the edge in this one. And certainly Marcus proved that they are still one of the top teams in 6-6A in 2020 as they came out on top 55-14. That now gives Marcus a 12-9 overall record in the Mound Showdown, and they have won 2 straight at this point.
I had a chance to visit with Coach Basil on Sunday, and man, he just a lot of accolades. He said, hey, the Marauders are the real deal. He gave a lot of praise to Garrett Nussmeier. He said on film there was many times where he made plays, much Tony Romo-esque, had 7 to 9 seconds to throw the ball and just made pass after pass from his back foot on the run, and just a magical player headed to LSU next year. The
Tigers have got to be just more and more excited to have Garrett Nussmeier coming into their facility with the way that this kid has been playing this year. He's currently number 1 in 6A in completions. He's tied for first in touchdowns, number 5 in yards, and he just put on another fantastic show and putting the Marauders right on his back in this matchup against the Jaguars. 26-38, 308 yards, 4 touchdowns. The Jaguars did get an interception on him, and Flower Mound actually did a really great job on defense holding up the run game and forcing Marcus to beat them with Garrett Nussmeier. And unfortunately, he always comes to attention and comes to play, and it's just hard to stop that kid. Garrett Nussmeier is the real deal. There's a reason why he's going to the SEC.
You're not a real big guy. For some reason, I thought he was like 6'3", 6'4", but he kind of looks like that way in pictures. 6'1", and but just very talented.
Great arm.
Again, similar size and makeup of Romo.
He just makes plays that, in my opinion, you're like, I don't know if there's not a lot of guys that can make some of the throws that he's made this year. And yeah, it's just, I think, a huge testament to Garrett Nussmeier. He had a killer game in the Mound Showdown this week. And I think that Marcus obviously has a lot of talent at receiver too that deserves a lot of credit. Tyler Schott led the Marauders in this one, 6 catches, 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. And J. Michael Sturdivant did his thing, 10 catches, over 90 yards and a touchdown as well. So, as much as we want to harp on Garrett Nussmeier here, he obviously has a ton of talent around him. And I think that we got to give a lot of credit to Marcus's defense. They really put on a show as well. I know we usually talk a lot about the Jaguars defense, but the Marauders D really came to play. They had 2 pick sixes in this matchup, and they barely allowed 2 yards per carry out of that Jaguars run game.
Yeah, Nick Evers, had 2 touchdowns, but unfortunately 2 interceptions. You're right, Grayson. The Marauders defense held the Jaguars to less than 2 yards a carry, and that's been a challenge for the Jaguars all season long to establish that running game.
Yeah, Mark Vassar for Marcus had a 15-yard pick 6 in the second quarter, and then Christian Espinoza, who plays both ways, got a 21-yard pick 6 to open up the scoring in the third, and that was kind of where Marcus really started to take control, was right at the beginning of the second half. And I think that other teams in 6-6A, including Louisville, who I call every Friday, should certainly be scared and trying to mark the date where they got to play Marcus on their calendar, because they are the real deal.
Yeah, next up, Marcus will be playing the Plano Wildcats, which is 0-3. That should be, matter of fact, I'm going to look up and see how the point differential. We talk a little bit about not really the point spreads. We don't want to talk about any thing to infer gambling here on the show, but our friends at Dave Campbell's has some type of computer that generates point differential, we'll call it. How about that?
So Marcus is taking on the 0-3 Plano Wildcats this coming week, and the reason why Plano has only played 3 games is because their week 2 matchup actually got canceled due to COVID. And as much credit as I have been giving Marcus, I got to say that they're probably going to
39 point favorite according to the computers.
I expect Marcus to roll in this one for sure.
So, yeah. Marcus.
And they're at home, by the way, against Plano.
They are playing some good football, and as well as the Jaguars. The Jaguars, are getting better each and every week, and they'll continue to improve as well.
Yeah, we know how good the Jaguars defense is with Vatney and Stone Eby, but I guess if there's anything that I'd really like to say about Flower Mound, just to not be critical, but Nick Evers is the key to that offense, in my opinion. When he has a great game, Flower Mound comes out roaring, and it seems like they're firing on all cylinders. And when turnovers happen and Nick Evers has to play a really tough defense. And like you said, John, they've honestly just been struggling a lot in the run game, and hasn't gotten a lot of help there, excuse me. But when Nick Evers is on, all of Flower Mound is on.
And next up, they travel to Hebron. Hebron's, other than their opening game loss to the Geyer Wildcats, won their next two, and a tough Hebron team. So that'll be a tough game for the Jaguars.
I'd say this is a very worthy opponent for Flower Mound. This is one of the tougher matchups that I think I've ever had to try and predict out of all of our 10 episodes that we've had so far here in season 4, John. I mean, this is just two really good teams on what I think are very equal levels on both offense and defense coming into this one. Hebron's defense has always been sneakily good, and as good as the Jaguars defense is, I feel like Hebron is battle tested in their first 3 games at 2-1. And yeah, the Jaguars need to come correct. This is another really good game for them, but they're also on the road against Hebron, so I think that's something to consider as well. Should be a really good game.
Yeah, given Hebron the home field advantage, they look to be about a touchdown favorite, so it should be a nice battle.
I think that's a good prediction number there. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm not going to call who's going to win this one, honestly. I just want to see how this one plays out.
Coach Basil was real impressed with how his team came back on Saturday morning to watch film. They were inspired. Obviously, defeated with the loss on Friday night, but he says there's a mission in that locker room to continue to get better and come out with a victory against Hebron.
I love to hear that. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Texas high school football, getting knocked down and getting back up, Grayson, and good stuff. Hey, next up, Geyer Wildcats.
We got your Geyer Wildcats,
and the McKinney Lions. And talk with that one. McKinney scored 21 points in the first quarter.
Yeah, I was keeping track of this one during halftime of my broadcast. We just, checked the score of it. We check a lot of the games around the area during our halftime show, and that was one of the ones we looked at. And I was like, man, McKinney's really hanging with Geyer right now. Yeah,
they made some plays when they needed to, and jumped out early. And then Geyer, led by Deuce Harmon, had 2 interceptions. The Texas A&M commit, surprised they threw it his direction, but they were challenging Deuce Harmon, and Deuce won that battle.
Yeah, and I also saw that Geyer's defense had 3 straight sacks in the third quarter on McKinney's quarterback, Samson Nazarko, and that really kind of set the tone, I feel like, for the rest of the second half of the Wildcats.
Yeah, Eli Stowers didn't have his most efficient night passing. Just completed about 50% of his passes, but he's looking a whole lot more confident running the ball as well. Grayson, after that knee surgery last year, I think he accounted for a combination between running and throwing about 320 yards on the night. It's going to be very tough to beat the Geyer Wildcats when Eli Stowers has a big night like that.
Yeah, 266, 3 touchdowns, also had 70 yards rushing and another rushing touchdown. And BJ Phillips got his touches as well, running the ball, 17 carries, 95 yards and a score. But I think that coming into this year, the story was all Eli Stowers. Oh, he's going to get to play game 1. The Texas A&M commit, this, that, and the other. I feel like Grayson O'Bara has really been the star of the Wildcats so far this year, as he hasn't just gone absolutely berserk in every game, but he has had 2 performances now so far in 2020 that have just been eye-popping. 5 catches, 173 yards, 2 scores in this one. He's now number 1 in 6A in touchdowns and number 2 in yards. I feel like we got to give Grayson O'Bara a lot of credit, and I believe he's number 1 in yards per reception as well.
I'll tell you, the magic with Grayson, is well documented. He had a really almost lost his arm in an ATV rollover accident 2 seasons ago. And then last year he was out with a broken collarbone, has not played really in 2 seasons. First time back playing Texas 6A football. And he's been real impressive with yards after the catch. I mean, he's known as a speedster running, north and south, but catching the ball on some screen passes and then making some plays after that. Very impressive.
Yeah, it's just a total testament to his story, and that's, I think, a part of why he's been the star of the Wildcats so far this year. But yeah, it's just his play on the field and how impressive it's been, despite the fact that he's hardly played over the last 2 years. It's really impressive stuff. And you mentioned him earlier. Deuce Harmon was the key to this game with 2 interceptions, including a 79-yard pick six. And the defense as well for Geyer, allowing just 3.2 yards per carry. So impressive there as well in the front seven.
Jace Wilson, his big brother's playing basketball at Kansas, and he's a basketball player, but playing football again for the first time in a couple years. He's starting to get a lot more comfortable in his receiver role. Big target, 6'4", 6'5", probably 215, 20 pounds, had 4 catches, 29 yards and a touchdown as well.
And Geyer now has a very tough matchup coming up this next week on the road against the Prosper Eagles. That's going to be at the Prosper Children's Health Stadium, like you mentioned earlier, John. And this is arguably the toughest opponent that Geyer has seen all year. I'd say
both teams top 25.
You could probably put Ryan in the conversation as well.
And it will be a battle, on the road. There'll be no band there for Geyer, no coming out of the tunnel. So in talking to Coach Webb, he said the team's going to have to, quote, bring their own juice. There's not going to be an X factor there to kind of motivate them. That is a tough thing about playing on the road this season is, your fan base doesn't really travel as well. And, you don't have the band there. I don't even know if the cheerleaders go.
I've seen some cheerleaders. I've seen some not, and I've seen different band setups as well, kind of depending upon how the spacing of the stadium works. But yeah, I think that home field advantage has definitely been a different kind of factor this year, especially if you have a home crowd that's willing to come out and, get at least those couple hundred people in there and make some noise. It was definitely a factor in this last game that I broadcasted for Louisville and Plano West. Plano West had a really solid crowd, really loud student section, and they had cheerleaders as well and a band. I mean, they made noise, despite the social
the kids
distancing.
Are ready to get out. They're social creatures by creation. People are social. They want to get out.
Man is a thing. It is a thing. And it could certainly be a factor as Geyer's got to go on the road against a really tough Prosper team. I think that defense and efficiency are going to be the keys in this one for the Wildcats. If they don't make mistakes and they can force Prosper to make mistakes, I think the Wildcats are going to be fine in this matchup.
And it looks like about a touchdown. Geyer, it looks to be a touchdown favorite on the road at Prosper. And I do have up on the screen, but for our podcast listeners, we do try to keep our show to very limited advertisers. It's all about the community. But if you want to go to patreon.com/Denko, DENCO. So it's Patreon, patreon.com/Denko. That's how we raise some funds to buy equipment and do some things. We're always looking to enhance. If you would have seen Grayson about 45 minutes before the show trying to wire some cameras up around, we'd like to get some camera brackets up there to make your job a lot easier and help feed the intern. That's always a good thing.
Man, am I really the intern now? I feel like I'm a regular here at this point.
Yeah, you are definitely a regular, but if we say feed the intern, people might donate for your cause. You're a college student, so
if you guys like the content, then we would really appreciate the support. We just want to keep making this thing better for you guys. Yeah, and we appreciate all the love.
Yeah. Again, if you're just now tuning in, if you will share this stream and use hashtag Beyond the Game, we're going to register everybody that does that for a $25 gift card to Marty B's. And we'll give that away next week.
Yeah, and we'll have more info on what Beyond the Game truly means here just a little bit on the show.
Stay tuned. We're going to have Catherine Flores, the founder of Mission Moms, join us here about 12:30 or so. And some neat things we're doing in conjunction with Mission Moms because our show is all about the community right here in Denton County. And that's really why we're here. We take our lunch break to do this show.
And I think that it's just really been a great thing to see. It seems like more people are tuning in every week, and we just hope we can keep cranking out these episodes for you guys and giving y'all the content on the teams that you want to hear from.
Well, hey, lastly on the Geyer Wildcats, Coach Webb, first-year head coach, Coach Heim, first-year defensive coordinator. They've made some changes. They've gone to a 3-4 defense. Coach Webb definitely bringing his own offensive game plan and scheme in there. The Geyer Wildcats each and every week are starting to get a little more comfortable with those new schemes and starting to buy into it. They also had one of their stars, Gabe Blair, big offensive tackle, was back for the first game against McKinney. He has multiple Division I offers. Coach Webb says in all the years of coaching, and he's only seen him play once. Now, this is pretty powerful right here. Only seen him play once, And Coach Webb says the best offensive lineman he's ever seen play, Gabe Blair. So,
and I know that has been
testament right there.
I know that was a huge addition back to the starting lineup for the Geyer Wildcats this week, and I'm glad that you brought him up because not often is a offensive lineman in high school just so dominant that he can really, set the tone for an entire offense. And I feel like Gabe Blair has that ability for Geyer.
Hey, next up, the Braswell Bengals and McKinney Broncos.
McKinney Boyd Broncos, and wow, this was I guess I would say the shocker of the week as the McKinney Boyd Broncos really came out and stuck it to the Braswell Bengals at home. Braswell had to travel for this matchup, and it was a close game, but the Broncos came out on top 44-37. And honestly, it was all kind of capped off with a 99-yard touchdown pass that McKinney Boyd pulled off in the very first quarter. And they never looked back. A 44-12 win. Yeah. Kind
of surprising. Braswell's been playing some really good football, and they just ran into a buzzsaw. McKinney Boyd. Wow. They weren't expecting that, I don't think.
Yeah, and so how that big 99-yard touchdown kind of happened was the Boyd defense was actually able to keep Tristan McClary and the Braswell offense out of the end zone with about 3:18 left in the first quarter. And then Ryan Shackleton found Carter Whitefield for a 99-yard score on the very next play to begin their drive at the 1-yard line after a goal line stand to force a turnover on downs. And that is just that does not happen very often. Does your defense make a goal line stand in the first quarter at the 1-yard line, and then right after your offense throws a 99-yard score? It's a gigantic at home. Yeah. That is and you and I are just talking about how huge home field advantage is right now in this year with bands not traveling for road teams and stuff. That must have been a enormous momentum shift at the very beginning of the game, and it seemed like McKinney Boyd just ran with it.
Well, we talk about him each and every week, though. Tristan McClary still had a solid night for Braswell.
Yeah, Tristan McClary still number 1 in 6A in yards, but now he's fallen to number 2 in touchdowns, I believe, behind Garrett Nussmeier over there for Marcus. But he still seems to find a way to put this offense on his back in any way he can. 10 for 19, 191 yards. No scoring through the air in this one, but he still had 50 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. And that McKinney Boyd defense just found some sort of lightning in a bottle in this game. I don't want to say lightning in a bottle because the numbers show that the Broncos defense is one of the very best in the state. And that's something that we didn't really harp on too hard last week, or at least I didn't, but it's something I absolutely probably should have given McKinney Boyd more credit for. Their defense really came out and stuck it to one of the best 6A quarterbacks in Tristan McClary.
Hey, this probably explains kind of the low production from the running game. Only 16 carries for a total of about 100 yards between D. Gafford and Jamarion Sanford. 100 yards between the two is pretty good production. But Sean McClary pipes in here, says, hey, they could only get on the field like 5 series.
Yeah, and I heard it, and it seems
only 1 series in the second half. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, and this actually happened to Louisville as well when they played Plano West. And if you're playing an offense that is high powered like Braswell or Louisville's, the game plan typically is going to be to control the clock and keep the ball out of that talented offense's hands. And sometimes it doesn't work if your offense isn't able to execute, and then if your offense is able to execute and is able to keep the ball out of the other team's hands, boom. Time of possession can be huge in Texas high school football, especially against talented offenses like Braswell's. And McKinney Boyd just executed with a really solid game plan.
Yeah, that explains just the low production from the receivers as well. And
time of possession, it's huge. Absolutely.
Back to the drawing board. Braswell's defense is, really going to have to step up this week and make some adjustments.
The Bengals were just on a really hot tear, and we got to remember that this is their first year in 6A. I've just been really positively surprised by how effective they've been against really great teams so far. And this was just another tough matchup for them here in McKinney Boyd, and they just went out there with a great game plan and executed. And like you said, Braswell's got to get back to work, and I know that they're going to make things happen in their next matchup against Little Elm.
Yeah, I'm going to look up here the Little Elm Braswell point differential.
Yeah, this is actually also going to be a home game for Braswell. I think that's huge coming off a loss like this. And Little Elm is certainly not McKinney Boyd, in my opinion, on either side of the ball. I think the Bengals are going to have a great week of practice this week, get back to work, and they should come out and execute very effectively at CH Collins, in my opinion.
Yeah, Braswell is a 10-point favorite, according to the computers.
I would give the Bengals a little bit more of an advantage than that. I think that they're going to be really hungry, and they're going to be at home Friday night. I expect them to be get firing on all cylinders.
I think it's going to be about another year or two, a couple more seasons, but Braswell's building, it'll be part of Denton ISD, building a beautiful on-campus stadium. It's going to seat about 6,500. Really nice, intimate stadium that will enable Denton ISD to have more Friday night games. There'll be other teams that play there, but between CH Collins and that new stadium at Braswell, right along that 380, 288 corridor, it's going to be some great venues for North Texas high school football.
Yeah, that's an exciting project that I'm sure the Braswell community is certainly looking forward to, and that's why we just talked about the Geyer game. That's going to be a Thursday. I believe they're going to be playing on Thursday, or is that Ryan? No, Ryan's.
Yeah, Geyer's got a Friday night game.
Ryan is playing on Thursday, and we'll get to them here in a second. And Braswell will be playing on Friday at CH Collins. So, that's kind of the situation they're in right now. So I know that the Bengals are certainly excited to be getting their own stadium here in the near future. And that certainly leads us right into the Ryan Raiders here, as they came out on the road against Frisco Wakeland this past week. And man, I feel like we say a lot about, the coach's son, Seth Hennigan, at quarterback and such, and he certainly had a great game. Want to give him a lot of credit too. But this Ryan defense has just been on it the last two games. They've allowed only 3 points in their last two matchups, won 41-0 last week, and now they win 41-3 against Frisco Wakeland.
Yeah, playing some great football, and man, there's a reason why they're number one in 5A here in Texas. And what an honor. I mean, Coach Hennigan has done and the staff there. I mean, he's got a tremendous coaching staff. It takes a power greater than one. You can't do all this stuff by yourself, whether you're a player or a coach. And Denton Ryan has just done a fantastic job. It's just that their expectations each and every year are to go deep into the playoffs, and this year definitely compete to win a state championship.
Yeah, the Raiders actually got to play at Toyota Stadium against Frisco Wakeland. That's a really nice stadium, pro soccer Hall of Fame and such there. But Den Ryan firing on all cylinders from the very start of this one, and it seemed like everybody got involved. Seth Hennigan, 281, 4 touchdowns through the air. Kiori Hicks had 95 yards rushing. Billy Bowman had, he had himself a game both running and catching. 5 rushes, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then he had 9 catches for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, my goodness, what a game.
Yeah, what a player. And I don't think he's recommitted, but, one of the storylines we talked about a couple weeks ago, Grayson, was that he decommitted from his verbal deal with University of Texas Longhorns. And now I think it's up between LSU, Georgia, and I think Oklahoma.
Wow. So 2 SEC schools now tossed into the mix there. And I think that that's very well deserved for Billy Bowman. I hope that he picks the SEC. In my personal opinion, no discredit to Oklahoma or UT. It's just, I'm an Alabama fan, if any of y'all don't know, and the SEC is where the best players go to play. And I think Billy Bowman certainly has the ability to prove that over there with either of those programs. I wish the best of luck to him for sure. And he's continuing to prove it with his talent.
Most of the fans that tune in here are probably Big 12 fans. So you going on the record saying you're an SEC guy.
Sorry, guys.
See why we went from a bunch of viewers to very few right there.
Well, Brian, like we said, defense only allowed 3 points their last 2 matchups, 41 points scored in their last 2 games as well. And, just going off in all facets, their defense allowed just 137 yards of offense out of the Wolverines, 2.6 yards per pass and 2.5 yards per carry. That is just a stunning defensive performance. And they've done it for basically the entire season. They're now hitting the road. Or no, they're going back home, like I mentioned, Thursday night against Frisco Centennial, the Titans, who are just 1-3 this year and are, probably going to get steamrolled by Ryan, who's just on a tear right now in 5A.
I'm a fan of what Frisco has done. Instead of having 1 or 2 big, massive schools with all the growth they've had, they've built many high schools. And versus Allen, I call it Allen U. 6,500 students. But that does dilute some of the talent there at the Frisco schools, because I think they're up to 7, 8 high schools now.
Yeah, I mean, you got like Frisco Lone Star in there, who's always been a really solid team and stuff. But I certainly agree with you. I mean, Frisco does have a lot of high schools, being one of the fastest growing cities in America, and yeah, they just have to spread that town around to an extent. And some of the teams like Lone Star you run into are powerhouses, and I mean, not really to throw shade at Frisco Centennial, but I mean, they're just struggling more so than some other Frisco teams. They're 1-3 this year, and you're about to take on the number 1 team in 5A and Ryan. The Raiders should make it happen in this one at home on Thursday night.
Well, Grayson, let's take a little segue right on cue. We've got, I guess, Catherine Flores is going to join us here in just a few minutes.
Awesome.
Before we do that, hey, everybody, if you're watching this while you're on your lunch hour, go ahead and you can grab a bite of food because you're off camera. We're not. And we'll get things reset. I want to talk a little bit about Mission Moms and what we do here at the show. Let me see if I can bring up some information. I'm going to actually bring up their website. How about that, Grayson? See if I can share. Mission Mom started about 10 or so years ago, and I'll let Catherine share more about that. But big step up in the community with COVID. I think 26 or 7 straight weeks. Went out into the community and fed those in need. And they've got a big call coming up with the holidays, Grayson. I think I've got their website up now. There it is. Mission Moms Teach, Serve, Act. And that's what it's all about. Helping others, helping those in need that are not quite as in a good position as ourselves. And they have a big calling. I think it's $8 to feed a family. So I think everybody can do at least $8, if not more. And there's great ways to get involved. You can either volunteer, you can make food donations, financial donations, but it's all about getting plugged in. I know I've helped pack some meals. They've met down at Lantana Middle School, and just a great community activity. And without further ado, I'm going to try to bring up Catherine Flores to talk more about it.
Awesome. Let's invite her on in.
And she's always willing to, on short notice. I think we set this up this morning, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, you were kind of bringing it up to
Catherine,
me when I got in the studio.
Hey, guys.
Man, hey. Look, and technology. She's got the technology figured out. Welcome to the show. And hey, we applaud. Let me see. We applaud everything you and the Mission Mom group. I know we were talking. I think you heard part of our show there, being in the green room. Great coaches, great teams. They can't do it by themselves. And I think you would be the first to say at Mission Moms, it's been a power greater than yourself, a group of men, women, youth in the community that have really stepped up and made a difference. So with that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your initiatives and how Mission Moms got started? And we tell everybody, if you'll share this stream, #Beyond the Game, we're going to get you registered for a $25 gift card from our friends at Marty B's.
Oh, Marty B's. I love that guy. Marty Bryan is part of this big plan and the big community to lean in and help each other. But Mission Mom started, like you said, about 2011, serving families in our own backyard that needed a little extra support anytime there's a school break. And so we've been blessed to be part of a great group of people just leaning into what's most important, which is helping our own, right, in our own backyard. And with Beyond the Game, we launched that, you're right, during the COVID process. And so it was 25 plus weeks of leaning in and reaching out, feet on the street with some great people in our own backyard and primarily trailer park communities. And the reason we launched Beyond the Game is because I'm I've got sports background. I've got 2 boys that eat, sleep, breathe many different sports throughout the year. And in fact, one of my favorite quotes is, my favorite season is baseball season. So it's not winter, spring, or summer or fall. It's baseball season, right? But Beyond the Game is really just an initiative that helped us lean in with our teammates beyond the field, beyond the court, beyond the sport, beyond the mound, to something greater just outside the game. And I just believe that we are all better as a team when we're serving together or doing something outside of the sport. Like most of the people we play best with in sports are good friends, right? So some of the greatest team moments are often outside of the game or the locker room or something else. And so I just wanted to be part of that with Mission Moms and with Beyond the Game, and sports is what I know. So here we go. I was blessed to be in a group of people. Coach Rodney Webb, who joined Geyer, is an incredible human, just believes in so much bigger. Kevin Atkinson, same over at Marcus. All were feet on the street with us and are part of our holiday blessings that are coming up. It's kind of the Olympic model, right? It's what we do next to go bigger, swifter, stronger than we've been. And so we need lots of help right now.
Well, hey, speaking of baseball, were you tuned in to Game 6 last night? The World Series was right in our own backyard, right here in Arlington, Texas. Were you and your family tuned into that one?
Well, we were out doing our own sports, so I'll have to catch that later. We have.
You know who won? You know who won the World Series?
Of course not. It's too early in the day. Is it even noon yet? I don't know.
The LA Dodgers are the 2020 World Series champions. So it was a great series. And some great lessons to be learned there. You're talking about a great team. They played really well as a team. And that's what it takes at Mission Moms. And you know what? I'm going to go on record. The show is going to donate $100 to Mission Moms today.
Oh, that's awesome. As you know, that'll support roughly 10 families. So that is amazing. And every single bit of this helps. And I just love talking. In normal days, I get to talk to chamber groups and networking groups of businesses. But of course, my love is teaching kids to serve. And your love is, of course, the sport. And so let's just marry it all together and do it this way. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Catherine, Grayson Nolette is co-hosting the show this season. And, he's doing a lot in the community. And I know maybe we can get maybe you and I together go out and during the holidays between classes, he's a student at UNT as well, maybe help deliver some of these items out to the families.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I don't know, maybe we could possibly do a show at some sort of event or something like that, helping out and then go on the air and, continue to fight for this thing. I mean, I know 2020 has been a harder year on some people rather than others. And, for those who are in a position to help, this is a great move.
Catherine, with your model, I know it changes primarily due to the needs of the community, the volunteer manpower, woman power. You like that? I didn't just say manpower.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not offended. It takes a lot to offend me. I'm good.
In the past, a lot of times you would gather on Saturdays there at the middle school. Is that something you'll do here through the holidays? We could potentially go on a Saturday from there.
At Thanksgiving this year, we're switching it up. Just getting a new space just because we've been in the same area. So we're going to Crown Over Middle School, also Denton ISD, just to engage in another smaller community over there. Of course, we lean heavily on our friends in our own backyard at Lantana, and just using this as an opportunity versus looking at it as an obstacle, I think is something huge. And then also, some of the greatest trials in sports and in life, the greater the triumph, right? And so we know that this is going to be a tremendous feat. We are targeting 10,000 kids for our 10th year and serving for the holidays. And so we've got a huge feat and we need all the help we can get. I think, teams are some of the greatest examples of living a life to inspire someone else. And so I love that you're doing that in your way and I'm doing it my way, and let's mesh them up and see what we can do to rally some forces. We're a bit unique in the way that we serve. We're feet on the street and we meet people where they are in an environment that they know, like, and trust. And so a lot of great organizations are out there with food banks and so many amazing things. I believe in sweat just because that's the way that boys are disciplined in this house. And so, they have to run a lap before we do any sort of discipline so I believe in sweat equity and getting the kids out there to serve because it's muscle memory, right? The more times you swing a bat, the better you're going to be at batting, right?
There you go.
So the more times that we teach our kids and our community and each other and lean in to serve, I believe that it will become so much more natural and we'll just be better humans all around. I've been quoted by my very good friend, Dr. Jamie Wilson, as saying, I lean in and live for the moments that cannot be put into words. And so these are some of those moments. I like to talk and I take up a lot of space with words, but these moments, it's like you said, when you go out and you give a meal to someone who is not necessarily expecting it, but they know they can depend on us, right? They just don't know when we're coming or kind of how that works. So when they get the knock at their door, those are moments that I cannot describe well enough and articulate well enough as to what it does for those of us that serve. I know food is easy for a lot of us, right? I mean, these times are a little bit challenging in getting the quantities that we need, but it always works out. It always will. And, money is not something that's going to take everyone to the place they need to be, so I think that it can come and go, especially we've seen that a lot during this process of, people's jobs and their moments and everything kind of been shaken up a little bit, but can only take you so far. So these moments, I think, are what so many of us will look forward to. And it is what the holidays are always about, COVID or no COVID, right? So I just encourage everyone to get involved in helping those in our own backyard. You don't have to go very far to extend sympathy. Obviously, empathy is a little bit different, right? Empathy is feeling with your whole self, and sympathy is feeling for. And so I encourage everyone to just lean into both of those and find your gifts to help the deserving, vulnerable kids in our own backyard. I mean, they didn't choose this, right? And so just showing up for them consistently is something we need some help with. So your platform to reach into the game and encourage people who are kids and coaches and everyone in a community that is so competitively driven, I think is great. John and you and I have launched this before with Marcus versus Geyer. I think I've got all the details coming out in the next couple days to launch that again here at the holidays, and we're going to put pound for pound who can donate the most food.
Well, Catherine, hey, what do you think about our holiday set? Grayson did a good job. I think he and his fiance got a little October Halloween theme going here. What do you think? Is it a nice look?
Yeah, it's festive. I like it.
What is one thing, and we got to wrap up here, what is one thing that folks listening can do to help Mission Moms?
So we will have a list here on all of our social media pages, and we'll keep updating that of the items needed and where you can take them. We're also going to I have got some groups involved, some Boy Scouts and teams on drive-by and drive-through food donation dates and times. We need food. Money is fantastic, but right now I'm not able to order in bulk. So the food, if each kid in this community can sponsor one family, it will cost you about $8, like you said, and you're sponsoring a whole family for their holiday meal. Mission Moms is responsible for the turkey, so we're just asking for the items that are included. So Crownover Middle School at 5 p.m. on November 13th is where you can do the mass drop-off. If you've got a business or a group that's collecting, that's where it'll be. But contact me and I'll be happy to organize the logistics.
Okay, so that's a great point. So everybody needs to hold their food donations until November 13th and bring it all to Crownover Middle School?
You got it.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll share that out on social media as well. But Catherine Flores, hey, thank you so much for being a game changer and beyond the game. Thank you so much for all you do at Mission Moms.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Take care.
Appreciate you for being on the show. And wow, I mean, just a fantastic movement. Make sure you guys check out missionmoms.org. It's the holidays right now, John, and the holidays are about giving. It's not about taking. And I know that everybody has an opportunity to help out and step in if you can.
No doubt about it. You can tell Catherine's like a JV player getting promoted to varsity. She's got so much enthusiasm and excitement to get in the game and make a difference. I mean, we probably could have gone on for another hour.
She's got a ton of energy about this.
She is the right person for that job.
Couldn't agree more.
Man, thank you so much. Anything y'all can do, just send us a message if you're not sure what you can do or what you need to do. And I'm very familiar with Mission Moms, and we'll get you headed in the right direction. Well, Grayson, back to some Texas high school football, man.
Yeah, I guess let's go ahead and wrap up Denton ISD as we were kind of in where we're now down in 5A. We were just talking about the 41-3 Denton Ryan win that they had over Frisco Wakeland. And now we've got the Denton Broncos, who were on the road this past week. Yes, they were against Frisco Heritage, the Coyotes, in a really good and tough game. 29-24, the final score there, as Denton High actually loses this matchup. But this was, I mean, it was exactly what I said it was going to be in last week's show, John. I was like, man, even if the Broncos just aren't able to come out on top in this one for whatever reason, maybe, I'm like, I know it's going to be a good game. I know they're going to put points on the board. And honestly, it was kind of just an interesting matchup. But wow, Denton really did a great job of hanging in there.
Yeah, Denton, they need to find a way. 1-4, they're struggling. And, we talked 2 weeks ago. They got off to a pretty good start against Denton Ryan, but then, Denton Ryan did what Denton Ryan does.
Yeah, and this week, the struggles came at quarterback for the Denton Broncos. Blake Courtney was the only player with passing statistics in this one for Denton High, and he finishes the game with just one completion for -4 yards in an interception. And it was really the running game for the Broncos that came to play. Coco Brown and Terrell Coleman combined for 223 yards on 40 carries, and Coleman had all 3 rushing touchdowns.
Coco Brown's a name we're starting to talk about almost each and every week.
Yeah, Coco Brown's
that's a good
actually,
thing. If you get mentioned on Denko Gridiron each and every week, you are a playmaker.
Yeah, honestly, both running backs deserve a lot of credit for keeping Denton in this matchup throughout the game. Coco Brown's now number 1 in 5A in carries. This man has 97 carries this season. He is just getting all the touches for Denton High's offense. I mean, with the struggles that they're having at quarterback, you could see why. But he's also number 4 in rushing yards in 5A. So Coco Brown, definitely a name that we keep bringing up. It seems like every Denton High matchup, he's definitely the central part of the offense. But this is really the first time that we're talking about Terrell Coleman. He comes out 11 carries, just 58 yards. Seems like Coco Brown got a majority of the touches with 29, but Coleman gets all 3 rushing touchdowns on the game, all 3 scores for Denton High, and really kept them in that one.
Well, Billy Miller takes his show on the road over to Frisco ISD Memorial Stadium on Friday night at 7 o'clock. Good chance to get a win, even though it's on the road. They face a Frisco Independence team that is 0-3.
Yeah, Frisco Independence, I believe, has also missed out on a couple of games this season due to COVID. So they're just they're sitting at 0-3 right now. They've struggled in the matchups that they have been able to play. I think this is another really good game for Denton High. They're on the road at Frisco ISD Memorial, so that's something to consider for sure. That home field advantage could be a factor, especially if the Knights can get some momentum early in the game. But I think Denton High can make some things happen. I like this combo of Coco Brown and Terrell Coleman in the backfield. They certainly are an effective 1-2 combo, but all I'm going to say is, all the credit to Billy Miller. He does the best with the team that he's got on the field every week, but you're not going to win a lot of games if you're throwing for negative passing yards. They've got to figure something out at quarterback.
Hey, the computers do not agree with John Piper's prediction of the Denton Broncos getting a win on the road. The computers say that they're 31-point underdogs.
31-point underdogs.
That's
my goodness.
Got to be strength of schedule, point differential.
Frisco Independence is probably really hungry, looking for their first win of the year and having a couple of games canceled due to COVID. But don't count Billy Miller out. He keeps this team in games when it seems like people count them out. And if they're going to continue to rely on the run game the way that they are, we were just talking about time of possession. Turn your offense into a efficient time of possession offense and keep the ball out of the Knights' hands.
Grayson, this transition a little south down to Lake Dallas, the Lake Dallas Falcons.
Sticking in 5A.
Frisco Liberty Redhawks. What do you got?
Yeah, the Redhawks really ran away with this one. They scored the game's first 6 touchdowns and held Lake Dallas to just 116 yards of offense in the first half, as Frisco Liberty came out on top in this one, 63-21. And man, I was honestly really hoping for a bit of a closer matchup in this one. It really seemed like the Falcons were picking things up on offense this past week, but the Redhawks came to play and they shut down Brendan Sorsby and Trevor Moon. This was arguably one of the more limited games that we've seen out of Trevor Moon this year. Just 20 yards through the air, 28 yards rushing. He also had 2 catches for 20 yards, so they got him involved. But I got to give credit to Andre Minifield, the running back of Lake Dallas. He had himself a game. 16 carries, game. 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. That is a heck of a game, almost 8-9 yards a carry. Man, I'm surprised Andre Minifield didn't get as many carries as Coco Brown did. I feel like if you gave Minifield 29 carries, Lake Dallas would have been in a different kind of ball game here.
Well, I know they're still, I think as of today, probably looking for a game, but I'm sure it's diminished. Their game this week against Princeton has been canceled. Do you know if they've been able to secure a game? I should have probably reached out to Coach Young.
As of yesterday, the most I know is that their game is still just canceled. That was going to be against the Princeton Panthers. I'm not sure if Lake Dallas has found a new matchup just yet, but we will try to tweet that out or post on social media for you guys if we find that out.
Coach right now, as a matter of fact.
So nonetheless, Lake Dallas's quarterbacks took a bit of a beating this week. Frisco Liberty really shut that down, but Andre Minifield at running back, that's certainly that's one of the more impressive running back performances that we saw this week. 16 carries, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. I credit you, Andre Minifield. I think that he is obviously proven to be one of the more talented players on that Lake Dallas offense, and I think that Michael Young's starting to figure that out as well.
Well, hey, this transition a little northwest of Lake Dallas to Argyle, Texas, and the Argyle Eagle. I'll just call them the Argyle Eagle Express.
Has it? The train has not stopped in Argyle.
There is a train. That's a good analogy because a train runs through there. I think four times a day or something like that.
The train has not stopped in Argyle. I'll say it again. These guys just keep steamrolling every single team.
Am I reading this right? 77-7.
It's actually 50. That was last week's score. I messed that. 56-19 was the final in this one. That was a typo. But 56-19, the final score here. Still, I mean, a total steamrolling of Argyle over the Terrell Tigers, the Fighting Tigers. Apparently, I thought it was just the Tigers, but it's the Fighting Tigers. But CJ Rogers, another efficient performance, 11 of 16, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns. The man's number 1 in yards and number 2 in completions in 4A. But Tito Bice continues to get involved in the offense. He had 8 carries, 69 yards and a touchdown. And he also ran a trick play and threw a 26-yard touchdown as well for the Eagles. So I'm glad to see that Tito Bice is getting more and more touches every week.
And good stuff right there. We want to see young players like a Tito Bice continue to get out on the field. And, very slow start of the season for him, I think mainly just to protect that rehabilitation of that injury.
Yeah, but he's really continued to integrate himself into the offense, despite the fact that Argyle has such an impactful run game. They have, it seems like 3 or 4 different guys who have at least like 50 yards and a touchdown every week, but they're all led by Braden Baker, who has continued to be a very consistent force in the backfield for the Eagles. He's number 8 in 4A in rushing yards and number 6 in touchdowns. He finished this matchup against Terrell with 9 carries, 88 yards, and a score to lead all running backs. And then Cole Kirkpatrick did his thing, 5 catches, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not too much of a shocker there. He's number 2 in 6A out of all wide receivers. And one a little guy that, or not little, he's a big man, but Jasper Lott at tight end, 2 catches, 58 yards and a touchdown. He's certainly more of a blocking tight end primarily and really just gets out there and is a leader and makes plays all over the field. But he can make plays in the pass game too, making some big catches.
I like to say this next one.
You like Cash
Walker. Yeah. Hey, just 2 catches, 51 yards, but
that's got to be your favorite name on the whole show.
When you need some money, throw it to Cash Walker.
And the Argyle defense, they just allowed 4.3 yards per pass, really forced the Fighting Tigers to resort to a run game, which just slows you down. And you're facing a lightning fast offense with CJ Rogers and Argyle. And 56-19, no shocker there. And it's probably going to be no shocker if they end up cruising against the Kaufman Lions next week. They're 3-5 right now, and Argyle's at home. We'll say it one more time. The train is not stopped in Argyle, and I don't think it's going
Argyle is a 38-point differential favorite.
Sounds about right.
To beat Kaufman.
Sounds about right.
I guess the challenge for Argyle is, will they keep up the intensity? It's easy to kind of let off the gas, but Coach Todd Rogers, I had a chance to go to a game earlier this season, and he just, I think it's his 18th year at Argyle, and he just gets that total focus like a good racehorse with those blinders on. And even before the game, it's all about keeping your heart rate low. I mean, he's got those kids ready to play each and every week. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, obviously Todd Rogers is the captain of the train. I say CJ Rogers is your engine because CJ Rogers is what makes everything go in that offense. I
like this analogy. I like this.
But then you've got, you've got, I guess, the coal that helps the fire. And there's a lot of coal on this train because there's just so much talent all over the field. If one guy's not on, trust me, there's 3 or 4 other dudes right behind him that can make things happen. Oh, Braden Baker's not playing well. Don't worry. I've got Knox Scoggins, Peyton Shoemake, and Tito Bice. Oh, Cash Walker's not making catches. Well, thankfully, I've got Cole Kirkpatrick and Jasper Lott, Lee Sutton, Hayden Stewart. I mean, the list goes on. These guys are stacked. And I think Todd Rogers knows that. And somehow he's able to get everybody some touches every week.
Next up, and I think our last game to recap.
This is our last
Liberty
team to
Christian
recap.
Warriors. Wow, let's show. We're right at 55 minutes, and it might be a challenge. Well, we might be able to do it. Get the show in and out in the hour. It's always our challenge. We try to get it in and out.
Well, we had
March hour.
We had our interview early today as well. So
we still got. We can still do this. Liberty Christian Warriors. Hey, struggling this year. They did put more points on the board, scoring 21. But come out with a loss against Prestonwood. I know, that's Coach Greek's former team, and I know how badly they wanted to beat Prestonwood this past week.
Yeah, Daniel Greek honestly struggled a little bit in this one. 189 yards passing, interception, and then he did have about 30 yards rushing and a touchdown on the ground. But Ty Strickland has continued to be a really consistent force in the Liberty Christian offense. He had 25 carries, 96 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he also had about 30 yards receiving. And then Kellen Moran has popped up in the last couple of games for Liberty Christian in the past game, 6 catches, 77 yards at receiver. But Prestonwood just went out there and played a better game, honestly, overall, and they really held Daniel Greek in check. Daniel Greek needed to have a big game for Liberty Christian to get their first W, and unfortunately, the Lions defense really just shut down Daniel Greek, and Ty Strickland just wasn't able to get the job done there. Liberty Christian also did get an interception on defense, but I hate to say that was probably their best shot at a win so far this year. They're about to take on an undefeated Fort Worth Nolette Vikings team.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge, and I believe they are on the road as well.
It's just a tank.
We talked about it before. The SEC of private school schedule just each and every week, and this year they're kind of like a Vanderbilt or a Kentucky going against Alabama, Georgia, Florida. I mean, on and on and on.
Yeah, it's just a gauntlet of a schedule for Liberty Christian. I honestly feel bad for them a little bit, but one can only hope they somehow find a way to continue to improve. And like I said, if Daniel Greek has a big game, it seems like the Liberty Christian could get on another level.
They show to be a 41-point underdog with Fort Worth Nolan.
Well, yeah, Fort Worth Nolan's undefeated. And like we said, it's just a gauntlet of a year so far in 2020 for Liberty Christian.
Well, hey, what's become one of the more exciting parts of the show, I know the folks on Twitter and social media, especially the players, really like it. The Gridiron Players of the Week.
Gridiron Players of the Week. I need to make a graphic or something for that. I know we've got the player graphics, but I need like just a main graphic.
Yeah, that is a good. Maybe a little graphic with some segue music or something.
Tune into next week. Yeah. Maybe I'll cook something up.
Well, hey, first up, I'll let you talk about him, but man, what a player! Senior Seth Hennigan for Denton Ryan Raider Express.
It was between Seth Hennigan and Garrett Nussmeyer this week, to be perfectly honest with you. But I feel like I haven't given Seth Hennigan enough love so far this season. So Seth Hennigan for the Ryan Raiders wins quarterback for the Gridiron Player of the Week. He was 18 of 29, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns, in a 41-3 win over Frisco Wakeland. He led all starting quarterbacks this week in completion percentage and tied Garrett Nussmeyer in touchdowns. They each had 4. So Seth Hennigan got the slight edge performance-wise on the field, and he's also just had, I feel like, a fantastic 2 straight weeks. 41 points scored in the last 2 games. And like I said, I feel like I needed to give Seth Hennigan a little bit of love this week.
Well, hey, what a phenomenal player, and just a poise, headed to Memphis next year, but he's on a mission. Be nothing better to see a father-son duo win a state title.
I've been thinking about it, and it would be amazing to see. I really think that Seth Hennigan's been just as locked in as anybody else in Texas high school football this year, and credit to him. There's a reason why he's going D1 to Memphis next year.
Well, hey, next up, and I'll take this one since I'm able to watch him live each and every week. Man, we talked about him early in the show, but Denton Geyer's own Grayson O'Bara, man, just not playing on a mission. I mean, he's out here. I don't know who he's trying to prove wrong or people that said he couldn't play, but just getting it done. 5 catches, 173 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And man, he's known for his speed. I think in a laser test inside a field house, he was clocked at 4.38 in a 40. Wow. And I know, that's a little unique, but hey, true 4.4 speed. But he's really starting to add some moves after the catch, and just a big-time playmaker for the Denton Guyer Wildcats, one of the Gridiron Players of the Week, Grayson O'Bara.
He led all receivers in yards and touchdowns this week in a 55-35 win over the McKinney Lions. And I also got to mention that Grayson O'Bara is the first player to receive Gridiron Player of the Week for a second time in 2020. He got it in the very first week when he had about 170 yards and 2 scores. And it took him a couple games, but he's back on as the Gridiron Player of the Week and the first player in 2020 to receive the honor twice.
And Grayson, the last Gridiron Player of the Week, man, you got to take your hat off or tip the cap to these running backs that just, they take a beating. They know some of those big defensive linemen. I mean, most of the games you cover, I cover. Those defensive linemen average 270 across the front. The linebackers, 210, 215. They're getting stung each and every carry. Yeah. But Lake Dallas's own Andre Minifield, what do you got on him?
I love Andre Minifield over the last 2 games. He showed up 2 games ago, kind of in the passing game. He had a 50-yard receiving touchdown. That was the biggest play of the season for Lake Dallas. And then he comes down this one in the run game, 16 carries, 142 yards, 2 scores. That's about 8.9 yards per carry. Might as well say 9 yards per carry. So very impressive game out of Andre Minifield in the backfield. First time he's really performed at running back this year. Like I mentioned, 2 scores. And he also led all running backs out of the 9 teams that we covered, John, in yards and yards per carry this week. Impressive performance from Andre Minifield. He's been playing really well in these last couple matchups, despite the struggles that Lake Dallas's offense has been seeing. And I'm just excited to see more out of him.
Well, hey, thanks everybody for tuning in on the podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter,
thank you guys for listening.
For Grayson Nolette, I'm John Piper. We'll be back again next Wednesday at noon Central. Thank you so much for being a part of this one.
From Fox 4, make sure to tune in to the Denko Gridiron Show.